ora, and welcome to the City of Sydney's Reboot series for 2024. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, traditional owners of the land, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, as well as acknowledging that we're all here today on different lands. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands from wherever you're tuning in from today. Kia ora upon Waramai. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Tracy Hamilton, and I'm delighted to be hosting this event brought to you by the City of Sydney and supported by Service New South Wales Business Connect. For those of you who don't know what Business Connect is, they offer free events, online resources, and tailored advice to support your small business, to support every stage of your journey. And we'll be talking about that journey shortly. So we're going to drop some more information into the chat box here, and you'll see that you can have a look at some of these wonderful resources from the team at Business Connect. So I am very excited. Today is the launch of the city's Reboot 2024 program. And as many of you might know, this free business webinar has been running for 4 years now and was originally developed to help businesses recover, rebuild, engage, and grow their customers and revenue in response to the pandemic. Here we are, right? 4 years on, and we are still helping businesses, but we're really focusing on efforts that are very, very important to you and topics that help small businesses grow with support around innovation, growth, and understanding how to use and leverage new technologies. And as you'll see, those technologies tend to evolve and emerge. So this series is going to be no different from previous years, where we'll continue to bring you weekly masterclasses with some of Australia's leading business experts. We're really grateful they're willing to come and share their knowledge and expertise on themes like growing digital channels, e-commerce, hot one at the moment, AI, retail strategy, and so much more. Now, across 2024 this year, we're going to have nine events in total. So every Tuesday at this time between 12 and 1, you're going to get the opportunity to actually tune in and hear from our experts. So for the first 3 weeks, we're going to be running a sprint called Crawl, and it's really focused on that, getting started as a business owner. Then the following 3 weeks, we're going to be running content that we've called Walk, and that's really about the early to medium term of growing your business. And finally, the last 3 weeks, the end of the Reboot program is called Run. And it's about those skills that you're going to need to adapt, that adaptive leadership and agility to really duck and move whilst you're running a business. And so we hope that this structure is super practical and really helps you think about your growth journey. And also, if you're at different stages of this journey yourself, and invite your friends to log in and join with you. Now, each session is going to be anchored by an incredible business leader and expert. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Emma LoRusso. She's the CEO of Digivizer, and she's going to be talking about social media smarts, about how to elevate your online presence. Now, I know so many of you are so excited about this content, and we've had lots of messages in the lead up to today. But before I officially hand over for her awesome session, for those of you who downloaded the Learn Along materials, the canvases, the materials that came in the invite, I will invite you to get them ready and open them up. And for anyone who wants to grab them now, Lenore, who's working with us today, kia ora, Lenore, is going to drop them in the chat box here on Zoom so that you can download them. The biggest difference of Reboot this year, as opposed to previous years, is we've deliberately stepped things up a bit. So our aim is to take you from having a lunch and sort of listen along and learn and be inspired to we want to move you into active doing. And I know that's a leap, and I know it can be hard to put into practice. So one of the things we've done is we're going to give you these tools and resources to center the webinars. So each week you're going to get another batch of tools to support the expert, and we're going to invite you to use that as a way to keep your ears open and document those nuggets. I'll also be calling it out and going, hey, grab your canvas and let's fill it in here. So we hope that that creates some really dynamic learning for everyone. So today's session, Social Media Smarts, Elevate Your Online Presence Online. We're going to be talking about creating engaging content that resonates with your audience. We're going to be talking about using social media to really consistently improve your presence. We're going to talk about how you might leverage trends, and we're going to keep pointing you to those canvases to make sure that you document it. So not just sitting there and being inspired, but actually being able to take the beautiful nuggets from Emma LoRusso and take them back to your business and create great change. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the webinar, Emma. I'm going to hand it over to her to tell you a little bit about her story and her journey before we crack on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I am about to share my screen. Oh, I might, yeah, let me share. So thanks for that introduction, and thank you for giving up your time. My goal in this session is to deliver as much value as I can, but also to make sure that we have enough time for you to be able to answer questions at the end of this, and so actually turn this into real value. I will be giving examples along the way, and it is designed, with you in mind in terms of, who this can help. But by way of background, I am CEO and founder of Digivizer, which I started now nearly 14 years ago, which is Australia's leading digital marketing insights technology and activations company. I also founded Go to Game, which is a specialist gaming and esports company. It's backed by Digivizer, and that's been around for 7 years. Digivizer, in this time, we started very much at the beginning of helping businesses understand the digital footprint of their customers, or those that they wanted to be their customers. It started in social media, it grew into search, and then it grew into that end-to-end social search, web, organic, earned, paid media. It has now earned us the absolute top media partnership. So we are an ad tech and top agency partner to all the major platforms. We are the only LinkedIn marketing partner, the first and only one in Australia. And we've got thousands of customers on our platform, and we serve brands, huge brands, global brands you would recognise: Lenovo, Barilla, Illy, Optus, etc., and smaller businesses. So we've really been able to craft something that's of value for everyone. So I'm only sharing that to say that I am coming with a lot of experience in seeing how people have used social and social within that broader digital context to deliver value, to elevate your presence and to grow your business. So I'm just going to start with, where does social media fit in? Like, why is it important for you to understand it? But it's context within something more broadly. And it's really comes down to, that is actually where your customers are. And what you're trying to do is think about it from be where they are and do it on their terms. And this is the start, and where some of these the templates will help you, is the more you can understand your customer and where they are in their journey. So where are they in their learning or purchasing journey? The better your content is going to actually resonate with them. And so one of the ways you need to think about social and where that's different, say, from how you need to think about search, is generally people are in social because they are following their friends, or they're already following inspiring people or inspiring brands. And so when you serve up some content, or you serve up an ad to them in that context, you're actually interrupting them. They're in those platforms for a completely different purpose. And so you need to think about, when you're doing an assessment of the content that you're creating, is how are you actually creating that thumb-stopping kind of content to stop them in their tracks, to add some value when their mindset is actually not in active search, I'm looking for a solution mode. And that's the biggest difference between social and search. So search is when they're actually actively looking for a solution to their problem. So what you want to do is actually think about, when you're in social, how are you articulating the value you are delivering in this kind of infotainment way, right? And we'll talk about the customer journey and where they are, but it is starting from, they don't know you. So that's the starting point. So you're interrupting. And so really that has to almost be just breakthrough entertaining. And then once they have done that, you've got an opportunity to then re-engage them. And then that's where you're starting to turn that into that infotainment of what is interesting and helpful, but reinstating what and when would they come to you when they start to move into that active need. And then the third part of it is, if you're being active and you've been able to engage them, or you're retargeting them, then, what is the way that you can solve a problem or make it so attractive that you're trying to convert them? If you try and convert them in social from the first instance, you'll find it's really expensive, in terms of if you're doing it all, trying to do it through organic content, or if you're trying to do that through a combination with paid social media, it's really hard to take someone straight to an instant conversion. So just see social as you're really interrupting them on their terms. They're actually there for completely different reasons. They're not looking, how can your content in this stage of they don't know you to now they know you, but they don't know much about you. What could they learn about you? Where are you demonstrating your value? And then how does that actually translate into when they start searching, what would they search for to find you? So then it's really important when you are setting out to work out what that content should look like, is to really get in the mindset of your customer. So really understand your audience and who you think you're engaging. And so this is where you really need to think about. Sorry, Tracy.
Slightly interrupt Emma and just remind you, this is a great time to think about your little persona canvas and your audience, because this is all about your audience. Thank you, Emma.
No, exactly. And so this is where you really need to get into much more than just demographic, right? Female, male, age, what interests, etc. If you can really get into what do they think and feel, what are their pain points, like what genuinely is causing them to need to have a solution. Where would they go? Like, who do they go to today, or what do they do in their daily behavior that gives you clues as to the way that you would actually create content that could help them understand and get those answers? Who else may serve them? And again, this is important because these are people you need to learn from, because you don't want to be the same as everyone else. You need to find and communicate what makes you unique. What's your special proposition or value proposition that's going to attract them. The other thing, and I think this is a really good thing to think about, is what jobs need to be done. Like, what are you actually solving for them? And once you've gone through those kind of questions to get to the what jobs need to be done, this informs everything. So this informs the content that should be optimized on your website from an SEO perspective. And what you're trying to do is match what someone would search to what they discover. But in terms of how it translates to your social media content, it's like, how are you talking specifically about solving that job, that the thing that they need to be done that you're perfectly posed to solve. And the more that you can talk to that solving that problem or that need, the more they're associating your brand and what you're saying with what it is that they would be looking for. And when they are looking for it, that specific, if you've talked very much around that job to be done, then they're going to start to connect when they think about that to your brand. And then that helps that connection back to when they start to search to discover you, your website, or to purchase or to book from you, whatever your proposition is. One of the things that all of us can produce content, right? So it's usually the discipline, like how have you resourced this to be able to do it? Now, I can tell you, I grew Digivizer entirely through social media. entirely through social media. I did not do paid media, and actually was much later in my actual learning journey to understand how important the role of website and SEO was to kind of complete, and then how that made that so much cheaper in terms of then doing paid media behind social and search. But it did just start with social media. And so the key thing behind the way that you need to think and approach social media is that you really genuinely are trying to deliver value. If you are just trying to say who you are and restate it in many ways, that's like you're yelling at them, right? So what you're really trying to do is, what's that value proposition? How are you actually helping? What content do they actually care about? And you need to make it visual. So that's that thumb stopping. It's be part of a story. So how are you building a story timeline in their head in the way that you're kind of creating your content? Back to that, what problem are you solving? And then how can you create and make it easy for them to engage? So like the design of it, the click-throughs, the call to actions, what are you doing that makes it really easy for them to know what to do next? But one of the things I think is the most important in all of this is that basically everything in digital is a hypothesis. Right? You are in doing this planning of thinking about your customer and planning and really thinking about what problem you're solving, like how can you talk about it in this context that really drives value for them, that it's a hypothesis that you create content and then put to test, right? Everything is able in digital to be measured, and everything is able to be improved upon, right? And if you can think of this kind of, how many people do you need to reach at the kind of like, how many people need to know about you at that awareness? How many people do you want to take through to engagement? How many through to actually the conversion that you're looking for? And your content is kind of designed against that. And then you're thinking about ways that you can be completing that story of like that first kind of entertaining, what is it that you're just, who are you, and what communicates your values, and video is usually the best form of doing that at that sort of start of that journey, to then being able to start to tell stories. And this is where you can share customer stories, you can share actual quite organic feel of imagery of your store or your restaurant or your business, because the more authentic it is and the more genuine you look in your commitment to solving the problem, the more likely that they're going to engage. And then asking them to engage, or giving them value, for instance, like download something or use this code for, or whatever it may be that gives them a reason to engage with you, can help build that relationship further. But you must be seen to be delivering value to get that connection. So apart from that discipline, so the first thing to be really good at using social media to grow your presence and to actually make this translate into real value to you, is discipline. So what is that time that you're putting towards it? What are the resources that you're putting towards it? And then, like, how can you leverage, particularly today, there's just so much that you're able to tap into to help you create that type of content that we were just talking about. So, for instance, if you use ChatGPT-4, which has Mid-Journey integration, you can put in your proposition, that work that you've done around who are you targeting, what problems do they have, how do you solve them, and then make recommendations for social media posts for this particular channel, and an image that supports it, and you prompt those types of images that support it. It can be the most incredible ideas generator to help you kind of create content or ideas around that content, or headlines around that content, or potential blogs that you might be able to use as a starting point. And the reason why I say as a starting point is, what is working is not just AI generated stuff. It's when you take the time to personalize or contextualize that content, right? So at a minimum, you must, like, practice getting good on prompts. Canva's got some great AI tools within their very low cost kind of starting point on creating social media content. You can put your brand colors, tone of voice, value, even imagery, style of imagery, and use their magic to be able to make even posts look like more like yours. But what you need to be looking at is through that lens of, is this enough? Have I said something that is unique to us? Am I using potentially an image where I could take a photo of my team? I could share a photo of me with a customer, or I could share the customer itself. Like, the more you contextualize it, or the more that you personalize your content, even though you can use all these tools to inspire and generate a lot of content, the more likely it's going to resonate. And back to the slide before about the hypothesis, you just want to keep testing what's working, what is getting that return for the type of content, the topic you might be using, or the type of imagery. Like, test everything so you get to the outcome that you want. But always be authentic, because we know our customers or users or people on social, they're really super smart, and they can sniff straight away, is this someone who's genuine and communicating something that they really believe in, or is this just generic rhetorical verbose stuff that's just there, and they'll become very quickly blind to it. So but use these tools. Like, it's amazing what you can do to kind of generate, keep that authenticity. Make sure you are deliberately using, like, even if you're exhausted, like, love these channels, love social, be on all of them, follow your competitors at a minimum, but find accounts that inspire you and think about the strategies that they follow. So it's a really easy thing to just say, like, okay, we are like this type of industry. I'm going to now follow like the best of these industry, and I'm going to go to their website, and I'm going to follow them on social, and then I'm going to watch how I'm actually being retargeted. What content do they serve to me? Like, how are they talking to me on trying to engage? And put your kind of like strategist hat on to see what they're doing. And notice yourself when you're in social, of like, what excites you, what engages you, what was it about that, and then incorporate that, because that's where, again, you can go back to use that as inspiration, but then test, like, what are how could you like change the type of content you're doing to take on board some of those strategies, or creative approaches or visualization that stopped you, that you can then incorporate for your company, for your business. And then the other great way of creating great content is really think about, at its heart, social, people are there to follow people. So they might follow brands. The platforms themselves, the algorithms, do not allow a lot of organic view from the brands themselves. And so, but if they all recognize that they need to make sure that people see content from people that they connect with. But more importantly, just psychologically, people like follow and believe and hold higher values, and can assess more the truth and the authenticity of people. And so, like, how can you yourself personally start to use social, not just as your brand, but you as an individual? What's your usage that's telling your story, and be as authentic as you can be? But back to that, what's driving you? What is your passion? What is that problem that you're solving? Like, how it gives you joy, how you get this, like this, you solve this particular thing, and the feedback, or your pride in your team. Like, you would be amazed how much additional engagement and value people get when they actually look at you and get a much greater sense of the who's really behind this company. Like, does this resonate? Do I align with the values? Do I like this person? Then I'm actually going to get behind them. I'm going to choose to buy from them, because I feel that alignment. If it's not you and you've got other, it should be you. So first of all, I'm just going to say, you all have to be active personally as well as your brand. But encourage your leaders, like make a point, put it in their job descriptions, KPI it so that it's something that's being measured. Make a leaderboard, share it, call out people who in your team if they've shared a post about your company or about a customer interaction. Like encourage them to become active, because again, people follow people, and whoever is doing business with whoever, like you want to make sure that they've got a profile that is being activated to create that. Use influencers, so make sure like these guys are already crafted, know how to use social and know how to engage and create incredible content. Like how could you potentially partner and deliver value, but think about it as a partnership as opposed to a paid for comment. You'll get much greater value over time and a much greater return on any investment that you put there. And of course, use customer testimonials. Do everything you can to get a customer testimonial back that you can then reuse as content into your social channels or to reshare. Like you can take little snippets and put it out there. Like it's a way to really demonstrate your authenticity. Back to that, everything is a hypothesis. Make sure you are measuring everything. So back to use data to help you make those decisions. Make sure you understand those insights that you're measuring your success. You're setting up that hypothesis. You are doing A/B testing. You're analyzing, and you have these two questions all the time. What is working and what is not? And that you make this transparent to your whole organization, because you want to engage them in this journey of success, right? This is such a powerful platform. Your customers are on social. You need to be there. And this measurement is absolutely critical to be able to do that. These are 4 questions that can really help guide analysis when you start to look at that content. And as you know, like Digivizer, we have that digital marketing insights technology, and that starts from a free plan all the way through to enterprise. But the point is, like, measure everything, because you want to know what the impact of social is, say, to driving valuable website traffic, or you want to know what are people searching on, so that and that's driving conversions to your site, that you could be right back to that problem you're solving to be able to use that to set the content pillars that you might use around your social. So understand where you are always to a period. Are you doing better this period to the previous period? And what does that look like across social, search, web, conversions, revenue? Identify the sources that's giving you your highest value traffic. So that is, and the way to look at that is, where are your users? Importantly, where are new users coming from? So that's your new customers. Because if they're existing customers, you can use low-cost forms like email to reach them, for instance. Conversions, revenue. What are those sources behind that? Did you have to pay to get those conversions? Were you able to earn them because they were referred from a partner or an influencer, or was it organic? Identify what your customers search on, what opportunities exist. So this is all about how to inform your content and paid strategy. Set no more than 4 content pillars to be that expert in ranking in that problem solving. And identify and measure your funnel. So one of the best ways to be in a continuous state of improvement is to know your numbers enough that you go from that they don't know you to they're considering you to their buying from you, or whatever that conversion bottom is. What within that is where you should spend your next attention? What actual metrics should you focus on to try and improve? And you set that as a goal, and you'll find that if you can just bring this continuous marginal improvement to one part of that conversion, you will always drive greater impact, and this will elevate your success. And just finally, before I hand back and we get into questions and how this can help, this is a great case study. It is a City of Sydney customer. It was a bricks and mortar, beautiful jewelry store that COVID hit and no one was in the city, and so no one was walking past and buying. So had to start that digital journey. And the first thing that was like, what back to what was that problem? So what did they want to solve? And they chose to really focus on Australian sapphire and bespoke jewelry. So that was kind of the key things that they were going to communicate. So that's what their website was built around, their content, that SEO, what their social content was about, so they really dialed up that, telling that craft story and that the beautiful Australian sapphires and what makes an Australian sapphire over anything else. And so really focusing on that particular bit, but making all their content linked and really easy with CTAs to be able to buy. And so that really, clarity in the way that I've talked about, see what is that journey, what is that content that fits each journey, how do you focus on which problem and what you're going to be known for, so therefore that informs all that content, and like really driving the outcome, the engagement that you're looking for. And then the key thing on this was, like, with very little investment, they were able to kind of translate that very quickly into a nearly 23 times return on investment. And so absolutely proved itself, and they've continued, even though Sydney's opened up a lot more. You can't actually walk in off the street because it's digital bookings to even be able to see this particular jeweler. So, and they've been able to grow their online revenue to put more of their jewelry online, to just do direct purchase as opposed to needing that bespoke experience. So it's possible for anyone at any size. So I'm going to stop and hand back.
Woo! That was fantastic. And I am just sitting here going, my mind is blown. There are so many things that we need to think through when we're sitting here at the table trying to plan our strategy. And I know that a number of you, I have been loving watching the chat box blow up, and thank you to those of you that twigged that there's a separate Q&A button at the bottom. Pardon me, I should have referenced it at the very beginning of our webinar. We will be taking some time to actually go through and answer a selection of your questions today. And for those of you wondering, that was so much, my brain, I didn't capture everything that Emma said, we will be sharing today's recording, the key outtakes and the materials. So for those of you that have had challenges trying to download or get the resources right now, don't worry. You will be able to do some learning in your own time, and hopefully this inspiration is really going to help. So on that note, I am going to ask you, if you have got the persona canvas near, to grab it out, and I am going to show you a completed one I prepared earlier. There are no steak knives on this download. So let's just pop over there and I will share my screen. And as all things beautiful, here we are. So yes, those of you that went, the persona canvas Tracy held up looked different than the one that I've got in front of me. That's because I've completed this one. So we use tools like canvases to capture those beautiful nuggets between our two ears. And as you were listening to Emma, you may have realized that there's a lot of insight required. So if your goal is to elevate your social media presence, then it's absolutely critical that you spend time deeply understanding your audience. Because if you don't understand what matters to them and who they are, you're never going to get the traction that you're hoping for. So this is an example of a canvas that has been completed for a business in the city. You may be in this category yourself, but this is a customer. Her name is Charlotte. So we fill them out starting at number 1. So if you've got your canvas, what's your customer's name? We give them a handle, we find an image that represents them, or potentially if you've got some charming customers, they'll let you take a snap of them and then you can update your canvases. Charlotte, what's her motivation? So she's one of those foodies. She's looking for high quality, unique chocolates with exotic flavors and classic tastes. So if you're thinking about her motivation and then you're having to map it to what Emma said, you can start to think, if she's trying to find herself in this world of being a foodie, where might she be when she's having fun on social, scrolling that feed? What might be some of her search terms? Well, if you look at her goals, you're going to understand what her motivations are when she moves into chocolate buying mode. So she has a really interesting motivation. She is a treasure hunter. And so she likes to collect and taste and talk about the chocolates that she eats. And she likes to try things that other people don't have access to. And there's no way you're ever going to see her shopping chocolate down at the local supermarket. No, she wants to try something really special. And her demographic, so we also include a demographic as well as her motivational profile, because that helps us practically when it comes to social media and media placement in general. So she's 35, she identifies as female, she lives in Enmore, and her income range, we estimate that she's in the 80 to 120K per year. And we might have scraped some of that data from the ABS, so from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. We might have grabbed it from one of the City of Sydney surveys. We might have done a customer conversation to actually ascertain her profile. But we know that she loves this opportunity to explore cultures through food. And what are her pain points? So when she comes into this chocolate buying moment, well, she's really irritated. She finds it very difficult to find high quality chocolates. And she wants to have information on the sourcing and practices. And then we put a fun little quote that represents how she sees herself and what her likes are. So for her, she loves treating herself to small luxuries. So they elevate her day. And the chocolates that come with the story, she loves that. So I think you can imagine if you're a chocolatier downtown in one of the arcades, maybe, that you might see Charlotte most days of the week, just sneaking in to see what the latest flavors are. So this is an example of a persona canvas, and it's a way to capture that insight. So when Emma was talking about what are you doing? Are you interrupting your customer while they're scrolling the feed, looking at beautiful reels about chocolate? Or are you intercepting them when they're actually searching, where do I find some great chocolate? So I want to share that with you and invite you to have a go this week after we close, to actually have a go at cracking this for your customers. And write, rewrite, take them out, look at some real customers in the real world and see if you can match them up to some actual humans that walk through the door. Now, the second canvas is obviously looks very full once you fill it in. And this is the social media insights canvas. So your persona canvas, you could use to deploy marketing. You could use it in product design. You could use it in advertising. You could even use it in briefing your staff on what type of experience they need to be offering Charlotte when she comes through the door. But the social media insights canvas is specific to capturing as much knowledge as we can around how we might actually respond to Charlotte as an audience in social. So as we go and do our investigation and our research, we're going to go, if we want to create engaging content, which was one of the things that Emma taught us today, what are some of the topics that Charlotte's interested in? Well, she's really interested in this behind the scenes, BTS, where people are showing their entire chocolate making process, because she was quite interested in origins and ingredient stories. When we also then skip down to her persona and how she shows up as an audience, she would be considered a foodie or a gourmet food enthusiast. So we'll document that there. There also might be a sub-segment that might be around ethical buying or practice, where she's looking for that transparency on the supply chain. So you might build a second persona and test to see where you get the greatest traction. The third one is what sort of themes are going to be interesting to her. So she's keeping her eyes on what are those new flavors. You know, we've all tried the lemon myrtle, which was really delicious. What's coming next? I've seen some very interesting collabs between Archie Rose and one of the chocolatiers downtown recently. So that might be something that she's got her ears pricked up for. What's next? And then competition. So we capture who else might she be shopping so that we can have a look at their social strategy and their search strategies. We can learn from how others are talking to our audiences as well. What are some of the data sets that we're going to set in place for tracking our hypothesis? Remember that great insight about test and learn mindset. So for Charlotte, we're looking at engagement rates. I'm keen to see if I can get her to sign up for our subscription. So I'm going to track that newsletter subscription. And what about the data? So the data sets, what is that going to be really interesting? So I'm going to be watching, I'm going to set some listening and deliberate research agenda to see if I can work out where to hear more about flavors or limited edition or any sort of content around those ethical practices. And finally, I've come up with some creative ideas that I'm going to pop down, and I may test them one at a time, or I might pick one. So this first go is really a sandbox to capture all the thinking that I have about Charlotte and social. So maybe I might do something for Mother's Day. Let's see. So I hope that that helps sort of guide how I filled in my canvas and thought about the content today. And that whenever you're stuck, you can start with that worksheet, and we hope that it really helps sort of clear the brain for a bit and give you some guidance. So before I open up the Q&A, which is always fun part of these moments together, what have we learned? Well, for me, as I listened, these were my takeouts. And they're all one, not 1, 2, 3, because they're all equal there. So I want to be where my customers are, but I need to know that I'm there on their terms. So am I interrupting you today while you're scrolling the feed and social? Probably. Or am I serving you where you're active, when you're actually looking to solve that problem? So when Charlotte's trying to find this amazing chocolate for her Mother's Day present. And what about the use of data? Well, data and insights help me stay ahead to improve my social media velocity. So I was listening to Emma's advice about how I might do that. So looking at some of the trends, seeing what's happening with competition. Some of the largest category brands have huge budgets, and they follow the advice of experts like Emma every day. So as a tiny little brand, I can learn a lot just from watching and seeing what the market is doing and documenting and running my own experiments, which is the test and learn approach. And what about content? So I loved this phrase that you used, Emma, called thumb stopping. So as I'm scrolling, stop that thumb. So really understanding what's going to stop someone's thumb is by understanding the customer. So for me, if I'm going to pull my content strategy apart, I'm going to get that persona wheel out. I'm going to look at my template and I'm going to go, my canvas, what do I know about Charlotte? What do I think might stop her in her tracks? And run some experiments like Emma has suggested. The other thing that I learnt today was about that customer journey. So to go, where is she on her path to actually solve this problem? And how can I make it easy for her to engage? I'm sure that there's other things that you've learned, but they're the 3 things that I found really exciting. And I wanted to thank you, Emma, for sharing your knowledge. So to that point, I am going to open the floor and we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A. So the way we're going to work this is thank you everyone for sending us messages. And I'm going to grab a few questions from today's feed. And so the first question, Emma. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to grab the questions and Emma and I are going to talk about them. So first question, are there any hands-on tips for one-off or low-cost ads on Facebook or Instagram? If I'm starting out, how can I test and learn in a low-cost way that doesn't break my pocketbook? Do you have any ideas?
I do. So I think the first thing is invest in video, and it can be low cost. That can just be you talking to camera. It can be you doing, there's again, if you look at AI video tools, you can put in scripts, animate it. but video is your lowest cost way, or you might show a range of your products within that video. But what you want to do is think again of that story, that what's going to visually stop someone. Be short and sharp, so definitely no more than 15 seconds, but actually even a 12, like the sweet spot in videos up to 12 seconds, you actually got the first 3 seconds to actually communicate whether they're going to even continue watching. So that visual in that very first instance, but video is the lowest cost way to promote people to see you and to first be introduced to them. So that is the very first thing if you're doing a low cost paid. Make sure you have a pixel on your website so you can retarget them, because then it's very low cost once they've watched your video to retarget them with what is it you can actually deliver, or with the call to action to purchase or to explore or to sign up for a 15% off first product, or whatever you might want that could actually get them to start engaging or give you information or take an action into the value. So video at the top, which, as I said, does not have to have expensive production values, with a pixel that allows you to retarget those so that your second form of content. Now, you can do that in very low cost budgets to be able to drive to an outcome. Now, before you even spend that money, obviously make sure whatever page you're driving them to in terms of your website, it's really easy to purchase or to book or to download or whatever it is that you're trying to make them do. So don't ever think about like that it's all happening in social, because whatever action often that you're asking them to do is actually on your website. And even things like shopping integration. So in social, where you might be linking that product, you need to have that set up. So just get those infrastructure things first. Make sure you've thought about that journey, that right to the end. But that's your lowest cost way of setup.
That's awesome. And I was actually going to use that to jump into one of the other great questions, which is, I'm sitting here listening, but how do we actually test and measure? Can you help me learn and give me some specific examples? And I'm thinking, you spoke about that phrase, pixel. So how do I test and measure?
Yes. So I think the first thing, you just need some basics. There is a free Digivizer solution to this to be able to measure all your social, search and web. So that is something that you can just download and already get value for free. And then if you need more, then you can pay for it. But the point is, it's the commitment to making sure that you are actually looking at what is your best performing content. And you can do that if you're publishing through any tool. So whether it's, Hootsuite or whatever tool that your Canva has a tool, publishing tool, like there is basic metrics. So that helps you just understand what is driving the best outcome for you in any period. On your website, you want to make sure you have a very good Google Analytics 4, GA4 implementation, where you have made that predetermination of the most important things to your business is. Is it a purchase? Is it an email sign up to your newsletter? Is it a booking? Is it, and again, it'll be different for each business, but making sure that you have that set up so that you can actually then see what channel is driving that conversion, how many conversions are being generated. And so that's your other kind of key measure. So GA4 as a basic start, and then whatever tool that you have, whether it's what you're publishing in or it's Digivizer, that you have something that you're actually easily able to see what is my best performing content, whether that's across all platforms, in specific platform, but by objective. Is it video views? Is it click-throughs? Is it engagements? Is it, like whatever those things that are important for you?
That is fabulous. And some of the other questions relate to, we've spoken about A/B testing. We've spoken about some of the questions I'm just going to grab from here. So if you were listening along and you're a solopreneur, or you're a business of one, or you're a micro business, or you're just about to start, the rules apply. So having that customer obsession, documenting your insights, being structured and being open to experiment and test across the board, whether you're a teeny tiny or whether you've achieved global scale, we want you to keep listening to your audience. And one of the other questions that I'll just grab off as well, which is, yes, today's session is specifically around social media. But yes, Emma has extensive expertise across the entire digital stack. So we will always start with audience obsession, and we'll always talk about setting goals and objectives, no matter the channel. So I'm going to just jump onto that now.
Actually, just on that, Tracy, I'll just add the comment. Social should have, like, how do you want it to work for you? What outcome are you driving from it? And that's why I can't disconnect social from those other aspects in that digital journey, is if ultimately they are going to book on your site or purchase on your site, or you're trying to build. I saw a question on what's the best way to build an email list or customer list. Like, honestly, buying a list is not very effective. Really working hard to generate your list, like, what's the value exchange that you can offer? And that is back to like a discount code, an offer. So if it's a restaurant, might be, glass of champagne on arrival, sign up to our newsletter, anything where you can own that email, and in exchange of some kind of value, just something that you're giving them for that is your best way of building that list to continuously deliver. So you can't disconnect social from an outcome.
Well, great
to get the best value out of it.
Now, I had one that a lot of us, when we first start out, when we're told to test and learn or open up our iPhone and record some agile content, we go, and get frightened. How do I test without going public?
Look, I think, to be honest, just don't be afraid to actually go public. There's no better way to know whether something's going to work or not. And I saw there was another question. It was like, how do you start even yourself? Like that overcoming the fear of like you being active in social. And usually the biggest thing is people say, well, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what people want to hear. But the way you should be looking at it is just share what you care about, right? And so you'll find, if you follow any of my socials, and I am on everything, so TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., and I'm active on all the platforms because I know how important it is to generate business for my business to be able to do that, and I really care about the value. You will know in every platform, I am a mother of 3 children. I am passionate about helping businesses grow. I'm passionate about helping people grow, right? And I'm here to deliver value, and I will answer questions, and I'll just skew it differently into each channel. So Instagram has a lot more about my full day. Starts with me walking in the morning, but if I've got a meeting or I'm proud of something for the team, or we just got a great testimonial, I share it, but I'm not sharing only business. I'm sharing everything that makes me, but I can put a lot more of my personal day into that journey. Whereas in LinkedIn, I do not much personal, other than what have my learnings been as being a working mother, or trying to balance fitness and my work. So I'm bringing personal elements in because it's my complete self. But because everything that and everything you do, like as a business leader, is you didn't get into business just to make a hard job for yourself, right? It is hard doing your own business, right? It's absolutely hard. It's hard to justify putting time into social. But you did get into business to genuinely solve something, to create some value for people. And that passion is what you tap into. And you just communicate that passion, like what you care about. What are you thinking about? What do you like? if you see your customers have great news or some joy or an experience, share that, right? Because that gives you joy. Interestingly, the more true you are to yourself, the more likely you find your audience, and then they engage because what they're appreciating is authenticity.
I love that. Start with you. You are enough. And I saw a great poster, which was, you can't grow your business without growing you. So that could be the one brave experiment that you take away from listening to Emma's wisdom today, which is grab your phone, give it a go. You've got nothing to.
I think that, back to that testing and just like the question was, can you do it without going public? It's just like, if you genuinely are passionate and you're delivering value, just look at different ways you can communicate that. And just regularly publish, because that's the other thing. You have to be regular, you have to be frequent. But then you'll start to see, what do people like? What are they actually engaging with, right? How many people interacted or how many people saw it? And that guides what you do next.
I think it's amazing advice, and it's certainly something we're seeing in the curiosity about the behind the scenes. Some of you have asked about outsourcing to freelancer networks and whatnot. My personal advice around that is, once you've got your hypothesis and deep knowledge about understanding where the traction is, that's the point that you could brief another person. But until then, it's all on you, baby. So share your excitement and passion about the work that you're doing, the category you're in, and the customers, and you're going to be that audience expert. And then you can sit in front of a third party and say, hey, can you shoot something? Or can you come and film me and make me look beautiful while I make some, pasta for the market today? So great
And
advice.
I think the thing to add to that, Tracy, is people love genuine video. The reason why TikTok is so successful is people just talk to camera. And the algorithm supports like what stories of people talking to camera when they're talking about their life and sharing their everyday, etc. But it's even in LinkedIn, we've done, like, we're a LinkedIn partner, we've done some very deep research about what videos perform best even on LinkedIn, and it's person to camera, unscripted, unstructured, giving like their tips, or I'm at this conference today, or I'm with so and so and we've just had the best conversation. But you want to get into it really fast and quite authentically, or the image that you share is just looks like a happy snap of something that they do better than a corporate shot. So you don't have to think, oh, I have to spend money on this. I have to get a professional photographer. I have to get a professional videographer. You don't.
Just need to start. So that's the call to action for today. This is webinar 1 of a 9-part series. Thank you for spending time with us today, Emma. And Lenore's kindly going to drop a survey link, because we're all about testing and learning. So thank you for being part of our audience today. We would love you to give us some feedback so we can learn, so we can optimize. Thank you very much. If you can take that moment, we would love the feedback.
And if I can just add, if anyone wants a question answered, please just message me on LinkedIn and I'll do my best to answer every question if I haven't answered it today.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we get to close out today, a bit of a heads up. Next week, 8 more series to go, 8 more episodes. Next week's episode, same bat time, same bat channel, Tuesday from 12 to 1 on the 7th of May. We'll be here again. And on our webinar, we're going to be inviting Kelly Slessor, incredible mind and a real expert when it comes to getting traction around e-commerce and online business building. So whether you're starting out or really ready to scale, there will be a lot to learn from Kelly. I'm really looking forward to having her on the stage, and you're going to see a little red thread from Emma's insights to Kelly's insights. By the time you get through the next 9 weeks with us, you are going to be able to absolutely thrive. So before I log off and say thank you for having lunch with me today and learning along with me, I just wanted to thank the City of Sydney and Business Connect for putting these events on. It's such a wonderful way for us to share the wisdom and knowledge of these incredible experts and to also hear about what you'd like to learn. I really hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I look forward to seeing you everyone here next week. You will get the recording in the next day or so with the outtakes and the canvases. Until then, have an awesome week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Ta-da. Thank you.